Right, so hello and welcome everybody again to the second part of our webinar. And this time we're going to talk about Microsoft Word. So, as discussed, Microsoft Word is a classic program used to create text documents, which can include formatting, images, and various publication options. Word saves files in a format recognizable by both Apple Pages and Google Docs. I know that most of us already know the basics of Microsoft Word. I mean, the basic one, two, threes and how a Microsoft works. But today in this webinar series, we are gonna learn how to navigate Microsoft Word to create an effective instructional material such as module. Okay, so let's get started. I have here, by the way, my Microsoft Word pre-opened. Okay. Again, I know that most of you have um, the most recent version of the Microsoft. Okay. It is also okay if you have the older version. That's fine. Okay. So what I would like to highlight is um, the things that we always see in the Microsoft Word options menu, but we don't. I guess most of us don't use it, right? So I'd like to highlight a few things in using Microsoft Word. But first, I'd like to take a tour in the quick ribbon. Again, this part right here is the quick ribbon. Here, you have the file, you have the home, insert, design, layout, references, mailings, review, view, office tab, help, and Grammarly. Most versions, if it's not Office 365, it will just be up to help. Okay. Um, since mine is Office 365, so you might be wondering why there is here an Office tab. And also I have added a plugin, um, Grammarly. If you're familiar with Grammarly, it is a kind of application which we can use to check grammars, the phrasing and everything. If you have a premium account with Grammarly, so you can install the plugin. So the Grammarly itself will, have all the spelling, the grammars, and the composition of your sentences checked. Okay, but this is actually optional. It will just only depend on you. Okay, so again, for us to better understand how each tab works. Okay. Um, just like what I have recommended earlier in the first part, that if you don't know where to find a certain function, all you just need to think of is, what kind of task would you like to accomplish? For you to better understand where to find that certain functionality. For example, for me, let's just say, I'd like to put some colors. Um, on my text, or maybe I'd like to change the size of the font. Okay, so since that is the kind of task I'd like to happen, so I need to look for that certain option in the quick ribbon menu. Okay, and apparently, as by default, you will find home. Okay, the moment you open the word, you will certainly bring you to the home tab. Okay, and then since you want to deal or edit something in the text, okay, so it is pretty much obvious that you can go to the font category under Home tab. Okay, here you can see again a lot of option that deals with font. Okay, and again you can find each labels in every category in every uh, menu. Okay. For example, if you wanted to change the layout from um, from portrait to landscape, okay, and per se you don't where I mean you don't know where to find it. You simply think of, since changing the layout deals with the layout of the paper. So basically, it will give you a hint that that might be somehow present here in the layout quick ribbon menu. Okay, so I think I can try to click this, tab here, and I guess that belongs to here, I guess, page setup. So here you can see columns, sizes, and here, yeah. So I just found it. So you find, the orientation, whether you wanted to have a portrait or landscape. But the bottom line is, if you're not really familiar for that certain function, you just really need to try to understand what kind of task you would like to accomplish, so you would have an idea where to find it. Okay. All right. So let's go back to home. Now, since our webinar about Microsoft Word, we'll certainly talk about how we can use Microsoft Word in creating and designing instructional materials. Especially this time we are doing flexible and blended learning. Okay, so I guess unlike before, I mean, I'm not saying that we don't use Word before, but unlike before, we use Microsoft Word more often. For example, we create like reports, or we create like modules. Yeah, modules, right? That's it. So let's go ahead and start it. So first, in every instructional material, it starts with it starts with a cover page. Okay, so let us like simply think that let's just say this material that we are going to make is about computers, for example. Okay, so how are we going to make um, the cover page? Okay, so first, what I would like to teach you is, let's go ahead and add an extra page. So I'm gonna go ahead. Actually, there are two ways in adding another page. It could be adding a blank page and adding a page break. Okay. Um, for me, I better suggest, if you are trying to create something on the first page and you don't want that to get broken or something like that, I suggest, or I urge you to use page break. Okay, page break, it regardless of the number of this of the spaces, it moves you to the next page. Okay, so for example, if you're trying to do something on page one, okay, and you don't want to have anything happen in page two, so you use page break. So for now, let's use page break. Okay, here, so you're gonna see I will have now, or I have now, two pages right here, one and two. Okay, and here, by the way, you can find the number of words enclosed in a document, like the overall number of words or the number of words you highlighted. Okay, and also about the spellings, okay, proofing errors, and then also the language being used. Okay, so first, since I have here page one and page two, I'm gonna go ahead and try to add a photo for our cover page. So let's go here and pictures. There's actually a lot of ways for you guys to add a photo. Okay, you can simply copy the photo and then paste it here, copy and then paste it right here, paste. Okay, there's actually a lot. Or you can go here and the insert tab, and then you look for the illustrations category, and then you go for the pictures options, and then you click on that, and it will give you a few options, right? But since our image is already saved on this device, so I'm gonna go ahead and click this device, and from here, I'm gonna go ahead and try to find where that photo is saved. So I'm gonna go ahead and look for that photo. Just a moment, hold on. Here. So pictures, okay, this one. So we are going to use this photo for our cover page. Let's insert that. Okay, so you will most likely see this. Okay, so how are we going to create, an effective cover page from this? Okay, so what I usually do is I usually, expand the whole photo. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how. So since, if you try to observe, you can't just simply drag and drop the image, right? Now, if you want to, drag this image, whether on the left, on the right, or whether on which part of the document, the way you wanted, first you need to wrap you need to wrap the image. So for you to do that, you need to do is you need to right click on the image or in the photo, okay, and you look for the wrap text option. So from here, you need to look for anything that says, what I usually use is either square or behind text, okay. But I suggest you use behind text, so the image will be all the way to the back. Okay, so let's go ahead and click behind text. So if you try to observe now, you can, move the image freely, okay, across the borders, right, across the margins. So since I can move it freely, I can definitely go ahead and try to expand the image um, as as big as I could. So first, let's try to zoom it out so we can see the whole page, okay, and let's try to expand this image. Okay, let's see. Okay. And I guess this is way more better than that. Okay. Mm, okay, I guess this one looks better, all right. Okay. So we have now the page, and the next thing that we need to do is we need to add, like, let's just say the title of our instructional material. So there are actually two ways, or I guess a lot of ways for you to add um, a box, right? So it could be in the form of yeah, so you go to the insert tab. It could be in the form of shapes, or it could be in the form of a text box. But for me, I prefer shapes because I can, pretty much select the kind of shape I like. So for the sake, let's go ahead and choose a shape. So let's try. I'm gonna go ahead and try to, let's see, maybe this one. Rectangle, diagonal corners and snipped. So let's go ahead and try to click on that. And then if you try to notice, okay, you will see that it will turn into like a crosshair, right? Crosshair, something like that. So it will, it will allow you to draw that shape. So the shape will not just pop out. So you need to draw it so you can scale the size. So let's try to draw the shape like this. Okay. So that would be nice. And then if you notice, the moment that you inserted the shape or anything, image, a text box, a shape, anything that you've inserted, as long as it is, a media on the Microsoft Word, a new tab will appear. And it will say, normally it says format for the older versions. In general, it says format, but since this is shape, it will show you shape format tab. Okay, if you try to click on a different portion of the page, okay, you notice that it pops out. Okay, so let's try to go ahead and click on that, and then what I want to do is I want to insert a text. Okay, so how do we do that? We can right click on the symbol, and then you need to look for anything that says add text here. Okay, so click on add text, and then you start writing about something. So let's just say this is um, an instructional material for um, introduction to computing, for example. Okay, so let's try to write it down. So, an um, introduction. Okay, an instructional material for introduction to computing. Okay, so let's just say by um, by, let's just say by Glenn. Okay, it's my nickname. Okay, so what I would like to do now is I'd like to somehow format the title so it would look, somehow sophisticated, right? So I can go ahead and try to format these texts the way I wanted. So I'd like to have the, this phrase, an instructional material for um, pretty much, a lot bigger. Okay. But I have noticed that it is scaled on the center. For me, well, it may depend on you, but for me, I'd like to scale it on all the way to the right. So I need to highlight everything. You can select all, or you can just, simply Control A, select all, and then scale everything to the right. So it will look like this. Okay, but I have noticed that the word for is pushed to the next line, so I can maybe expand this a little bit like that. Okay, so maybe this looks better. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and try to expand the introduction to computing. So the way I've wanted, so let's try to expand it. Okay, so I guess introduction to computing should be bigger, much bigger. Okay, I guess that's better. That's fine. And then the name of the author, um, let's just say scale of 14. Okay, that's nice. That's better, right? And for example, I'd like to change the font style. So let's change the font style for the the title of the book or the instructional material. So I'm gonna go ahead and change this one and look for, let's just say, quite more. Maybe this one, Adobe Gothic STD B. Okay, so guess it looks nice now, right? Now, um, now if you go back to to the shape, okay, you will notice there's like a border in here. So let's try to remove that. So how do we remove that? You go click on the shape and then you try to remove the border from there. So since there are two or three, options for you to deal with the shape, you have the shape fill, the shape outline, and the shape effects. So it would be, I mean, since you wanted to remove the outline, so you need to go ahead and click for the shape outline, and then try to remove it by clicking no outline. So it will just be entirely just the fill itself. Well, for me, it looks nice if there's no outline, but again, it will still depend on you. Okay, no outline. And then let's just say I wanted to change the color fill into, or the shape fill. Um, let's just say this one. No, let's just say yellow, or I guess then yellow. Let's try yellow. Okay. Now, um, okay, guess that's done. Now, let's go ahead and try to, make it somehow transparent by increasing the opacity of the shape. So for you to do that, you need to click on the shape again, and then right click, and then look for Format Shape. Okay, so here you will find the format shape pane on the right side, and then there are actually three options for you. You have fill and line, you have effects, and you have the layout properties. Now under fill and line, you need to go and drop this fill option down, and then you need to look for this one that says um, that says transparency here. Okay, right. So we can adjust the transparency to 50 and then hit enter. And then let's try to close this, and this will, exactly how it will look like. So somehow you will, see, uh, the background, right? When you set the transparency to 50. So it looks, amazing, compared earlier. Um, So let's just say that you wanted to somehow put, some kind of design on the cover photo. So you can crop the photo or whatever shape you'd like. So if you try to observe, when you click the shape, it will give you shape format. But when you click on the picture, it will give you picture format. So let's go ahead and click on picture format here. And from here, you go to the size, the category, and you try to crop. So when you try to crop, um, you can, adjust the image, onto the size the way you wanted, or you can change the shape of the image by cropping it. So how do you do that? You click on the drop down arrow right under the crop option, under the picture format. Click on that, and then you click on crop to shape. So from here, let's go ahead and look for, a very nice shape or a very good shape we can use to, put, some kind of a design on our cover page. So I'm gonna use rectangle diagonal corners snip here. So if you try to observe, okay, nothing really will show up, not unless if you try to move this photo here to the right. Okay, you can see, okay, it somehow changes, right? So here, somewhere down below, there's like this, you know, um, triangle on the left. I mean, on the bottom left side of the, of the cover page. But I got the whole cover page moved. But if you don't want that, there's actually another way. So let's try to undo things. Let's try to put it back the way it was before. Okay, so like this. So if you want to, put like a design, and then you find, the photo scaled perfectly, both horizontal and vertical, um, I can suggest you can add more shape, and then you somehow manage the color. So you go to insert, and then you go to shapes here, and let's just say I want to add um, a design somewhere here, maybe below. So something like this. Hold on. So let's go shape. Let's try rectangle. Then let's draw. Okay. And then let's try to format the photo again by removing the outline and then changing the font color to say white. Okay, so let's try to move it like that. And then, okay. So let's try to click back. Okay, so I guess it's pretty much short. Hold on. Okay. So I guess it's way more better, right? You have, added certain feature of a taste on your design. Well, actually, it might depend on you, what kind of design or what kind of designer you are. If you want to change this, so you can just simply delete the shape. Um, right? So you can just hit delete. Let's try to add a different shape, maybe a triangle. Let's try triangle. Let's try a triangle. This one. And then let's try to remove the outline. And then shape fill will be white. By the way, if you happen to notice, there's like this, icon in here that will allow you to rotate an object on the word. So if you click on that, if you click and hold on that, Word will, let you rotate a certain object, right? So, for example, this one, I can rotate and then adjust the photo the way I wanted. So, for example, this one. So, as you can see, I have like added, a small type of design on the cover photo. Okay, like that. So I could have it doubled here, three, two. Okay, so something like that. Okay, but yeah, again, it actually always depends on you. There are actually a lot of ways for you to create a design on your cover page. Okay, but for me, I will just stick to this, very simple and minimal design. It looks formal for me. Okay, but By the way, if you wish to add logos on your respective schools, that can be fine. Okay. So next, what we need to do is we need to um, create or insert a table of contents. But normally, what it follows after a cover page, normally it follows preface, right? Normally, there's this preface part, right? But preface part, I'm just gonna leave that to you because it will depend on you. Okay. So let's say this whole thing is the preface part. So I'm gonna create the third page by adding page break again here. So I'm on the third page. So here in this time, I'm gonna go ahead and insert on the table of contents. Now most of us create table of contents manually, right? Like write down or create like table of contents here. So this is what we normally do. Table of contents like that, right? We normally do that, okay? But Microsoft Word will give you a capability to create um, a table of contents which relies on the header. So I'm going to show you how, okay? So what you need to do is you need to go to the References tab. The table of contents can't be found here in the Insert tab, but it can be found in the References tab. Okay, I'm gonna tell you later why table of contents option isn't in the insert. If you're trying to think of it, you're trying to insert something, right? But table of contents can't be found in the insert tab. It is because this table of contents that we are going to use is pretty much, automatic. Like it changes whenever you change something on your headers. So let's go ahead and create table of contents. So you see this arrow, you try to click on drop down here, and then you need to look for an option you'd like. There are actually, you know, three options as by default. You have the automatic table one, you have the automatic table two, and you have the manual table. Okay, let's go ahead and use automatic table two here. So it will certainly give you this, you know, figure, right, or this option, right, table of contents. But if you try to notice, when you try to hover your mouse, it highlights, right? And when you try to click on that, it may look like that your table of contents is inside a table, right? But the thing is, this, table of contents is a kind of referencing functionality of the Microsoft Word. For now, you might notice that there is no table of contents entries found. Okay, because obviously we haven't done a single page. So let's go ahead and try to add page number one. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and go back in home. No, insert and then page break again. Okay. Um, the reason why I keep on using page breaks is that whenever I try to add spaces here, okay, spaces or enter spaces, it doesn't really affect the succeeding page. That's a good thing about page break. It is because if you don't use page break and then if there's something um, that's a move here from this certain line space to different line space, it will really move the entire thing of the entire document, and it destroys the formatting of your document, right? So let's just say here on the fourth page, page number 4. Okay, no, yeah, page number 4. Let's go ahead and try to create, let's just say, module number 1. Okay, for example. So I'm going to go ahead and write down module number 1. Module 1. Okay, let's just say module 1 talks about um, computer basics, right? Computer basics, for example. Okay. Now, since we want to fill in something on our table of contents, for us to do that, okay, we need to set each part of our module into a heading. Okay. Most of us doesn't use this feature, but I suggest you use this if you want to make your lives, easier. Okay. Now, so by default, there are a lot, right? So for you to access the headings and the styles, okay, you need to go to Home, and then you look for styles. So from here, you can drop this thing down, and you can find, a lot of headings, right? So since I want to set, this module one, and for example, computer basics here, okay, as the header of this page, and obviously for this lesson, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and set this as our heading one. So if you try to observe, when I hover it to the style, it changes, right? Like this. But the question is, can we change the format of a certain heading? The answer is yes. So if you don't like it, um, styled this way with the color font blue, let's just say I want to change the color font into black and change the text, we can do that. So for you to do that, you need to right click on that certain heading, okay? So since most major parts of a certain document, especially the main parts are tagged as heading 1. So let's use heading 1 and let's try to right click and then go to modify. Okay, this option will allow you to modify heading number 1 the way you wanted. Okay, so whenever you select and tag something as heading number 1 and then click the style heading 1, it automatically changes. Okay, so for example, I'm gonna go ahead and change the formatting into, let's just say, Arial, and then let's just say the font size is good, 16. I'd like to have it bold. By the way, it will look like this whenever you change, the format of your heading. And then let's just say I'd like to have the color. What's the nice color here? Let's just say black. Yeah. Yeah. Or no. Okay, this one. Let's try to use gold accent, right? So I'm gonna click on that, and it will look like this. Okay. So let's click OK. If you happen to notice, it changes, right? And then for you to know that if a certain text is a heading, when you hover it or when you hover your cursor to that text, you will see this, triangle icon right on the left side of the text. That means that this option can be collapsed or it can be expanded. I'll show you later how and why. Okay. So if we try to go back on our table of contents, if you happen to notice, nothing have changed. Not unless if you click on the table of contents and then click on update table here, update table. Okay. When you click that, an option will pop in. Normally it pops here, update page numbers only or update entire table. Okay, you go ahead and click update entire table. So it will update the heading and the table of contents, like the entire table. Okay, click OK and this will happen. Okay, I haven't typed anything here. It's just that the table of contents generated this, this, heading right here. Okay, and it also generated the page number even if I did not put the page number on it. Okay, but basically this is page number 4. Okay, so that's a good thing about using table of contents and headers, right? So that's heading 1. What I would like to happen now is I'd like to, let's just say, insert something, or let's just say insert the lessons, right? So for example, module number 1 talks about lesson number 1, lesson number 2, lesson number 3, and lesson number 4. Okay, for example, like that. Okay. Now, as you can see, okay, when I insert the these text, they are normal text. Right? Nothing fancy at all. And normal text doesn't really appear on the table of contents. Whether how many times you update the table, it won't really appear because only the headings will appear in table of contents. Okay, so let's just say I'm gonna go ahead and start lesson number 1 on the next page. Okay, but what we normally do here in a module For example, the module page, right? We sometimes create like a cover page. Okay, so for us to do that, okay, we can add another photo. So let's try to insert a picture here, this device. Let's just say we are going to use um, a different picture. Okay, or maybe yes, this picture still. Okay, so let's try to use this picture. So again, what we need to do is we need to right click and then let's go behind text. Okay, so we can move this photo here, and then I can expand it like this. Okay, so if you try to observe, half of it is occupied with the cover photo, right? So I can move this module 1 computer basics all the way down. Nope, nope, nope. Okay, not the photo, but the image. Okay, so I'm gonna move this. Okay, there you go. Okay, so there you go. I have moved it, and then you can also find the cover photo, but I'd like to have the cover photo um, pretty much smaller, so I'm gonna move it all the way up so I can just only see half of the image, right, like that. So I can move this module here very well. Okay, so that's good. So I'd like to have it centered, so let's go ahead and try to center heading number 1 here. So normally what we tend to put under the module or the title of a certain module, we sometimes put like a module overview or the module overview here, right? And it will be a series of sentences to where it describes the whole module, right? Especially module number 1. And then after the module overview, um, we'll what we normally do is we normally put the learning outcomes, but again, it may depend. It may depend on your institution. Okay, so learning outcomes can be normally formatted in bullets. So I'll go ahead and put like a bullet on it. So you have learning outcome number 1, and then I can copy this. Okay, and then paste 2, and then 3, and then 4. There we go. Okay, and then um, next are the lessons. So lessons in this module. So you have lesson number 1, lesson number 2, lesson number 3, and I can put them into bullets or maybe in numbers, right? Let's use numbers like that. Okay. So I want to have these bolded. So highlight on learning outcomes, and then Control B or click on bold, and also lesson modules, click on bold like that. So you already have your module cover. If you want to add maybe some kind of a design to your module cover, so you can insert another shape. Let's just say rectangle, and then draw a rectangle shape here. So maybe something like that. And then let us remove the outline, and then we used yellow, right? So let's use yellow. Okay. There you go. So I have created a module cover. Okay. So I have here the module overview. You have the learning outcomes. You have the lessons in this module. Okay. So if you're done with the module page or the module cover page, you go ahead and insert another page. Let's start with lesson number 1. So again, page break. Okay. And then let's start with lesson number 1. There are actually plenty of ways how are you going to start a lesson, right? There are a lot of models when creating instructional material, so it will depend on you. Okay. Now, for the sake of this webinar, we'll go ahead and try to create a very simple one. Okay, following um, specific format, right? So for us to start with, I'd like to have lesson number one, formatted in a very fancy way. What I would like to do is I'd like to, let's just say, put like a very good header here. Okay, so I can go ahead and insert a shape, another shape maybe. Okay, this one. So let's try to create a shape. Mm, maybe this one. Let's see. Mm, this one. This one looks good, right? This one, by the way, is here. An arrow. It's a pentagon. A horizontal pentagon. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw pentagon here. Maybe it's here, right? And then I'm gonna add another one. This time it will be this one, a chevron. That's pretty fancy, right? Chevron, like that. Okay, so I guess that's done. But I guess okay, maybe I need to have them. Okay, make them shared with the same height, right? So let's try to remove that. Okay, there we go. So um, let's try to remove the outline. So you can do removing outline simultaneously, even with two, three, or more shapes by just clicking the first shape. And it should look like this. You should see that the shape is ready for formatting, and then you hold Control on your keyboard, and then you should be able to see. Okay, you should be able to see that icon. Okay, a cursor with a plus symbol. Um, that will allow you to, select another shape or another picture for you to format them at the same time. So you hold Control and click on that, and then if you happen to notice, okay, you can still see the shape format. So whatever I do here in the first shape, it will still happen on the, on the other shape. Click on shape format, and then let's take the outlines, and let's just say the color will be, let's just say yellow still, right? What's with the yellow, right? But yellow. So let's try to click on yellow, and that's it, yellow, right? So I can go ahead and insert text here by right clicking and then add text, right? So um, add text, there we go. So I can put here lesson one, right? Simple as that. Now, and then let's just say lesson number one is about, let's just say lesson number one is about computer hardware. For example, okay? So I'm gonna get back here and then add text here and then computer hardware. Now, as you can see, okay, actually in designing there are rules, right? The rules of contrast. So if the background is, lighter, then the foreground or the text should be darker, right? So if I mean if both background and the text are lighter, obviously you can't read them properly, right? Because they share the same contrast and the same brightness. So let's go ahead and try to change the color of the text by simply highlighting the whole text, and then go to font color, and then let's just maybe use what, black. I guess black would be nice, right? Yeah, let's just use black for the sake, or maybe what, a gold one. No, no, not a gold. Yeah, just the black one. Yeah, the black would be nice. And I'd like to increase the font size so it can be, and then I'd like to bold it. There you go, computer hardware. Now here, on lesson number one, since I'd like to see lesson number one in the table of contents, all I can do is, since I have module number one as heading number one, I'll tag every lessons here, okay, as heading number two, right? So for us to do that, let's go here, make sure that you have selected this, and then you look for heading 2. Okay, you can drop this down and look for heading 2. And then if you try to observe, the format of this text under or inside this table changes, right? But if you don't like that, if you want to have it modified, you can do so. So right click on heading number 2, modify, and then maybe I'll just go ahead and select the same font, but I'm gonna go ahead and increase the font size to, let's say, 20, and then bold, and then let's just say the color would be black. Black would be nice, right? Okay, there we go. Hit OK, and then let's click on lesson number one, or maybe in the shape back. Okay, it is okay for you not to highlight the whole text. Just click the text and then click heading number two, and that's what exactly is going to happen, right? By the way, I got it automatic because the shape has an automatic color of font white, right? So I need really to click black on it and then click black. So there we go. Okay. So if you notice, it's actually scaled somewhere on the near left. We can do and make some changes with that by modifying heading 2 again, and then I'd like to have it bold, and then I could indent. See this option right here? This will allow you to indent a certain heading, right? So click on that, and then if you notice, lesson number one moves. Okay, so I'd like to have it indented this way. Okay, so click OK, and then there we go. Okay, now if we try to go back here in table of contents and then update the table by clicking on the table and update table, and then update entire table, okay, you will see that lesson number one is a subheading of module number one. Okay, meaning headings always follows hierarchy, right? So heading 3 is to heading 2, so as to heading 2 is to heading 1. Okay, and it will also give you the right page number, regardless if you added the page number on the footer or not. Okay, so we have right here lesson number one here, so I won't find any problems in updating the page numbers using referencing in table of contents, also with the headings. Okay, now just like what I've said though, when you try to click on this triangle, small triangle button or icon on the left side of each heading, it somehow collapses. I would say it collapses all text inside it. So when you click on that, it collapses and everything, and you won't see the succeeding pages, right? Then when you open in that, gives them back. Same as here. Okay. Now, um, since we are done with using heading number two. By the way, guys, when you try to change something on the heading, and for example, you have heading for example, you have lesson number one, right? You have lesson number two, you have lesson number three, and lesson number four. And then whether, for example, if you'd like to change or update the, certain heading, it will go all the way through all of the text that has that heading assigned to it, right? So for example, if I update heading number two, and for example, if I formatted lessons 1, 2, 3, and 4 to heading number 2, whatever changes I had for the format will be applied automatically to all of these, texts, right? That's what's going to happen, right? So pretty much that's it. And then, for example, if we would like to add the content, you may do so. So for example, what normally happens here is after the lesson you will find, or you normally add, mm, lesson objectives, right? Lesson objectives or lesson outcome, right? Outcomes. And then you put the lesson outcomes right here. Lesson outcome number 1. And then you also have the time. So let's just say like 5 hours, right? Um, if you wish to add, icons to make it, look better, you can do so. For example, here, I'd like to add an icon here. So I need to go to insert, and then I need to go and, you can use icons here, or you can use shapes. For example, let's try to use shape. Um, let's go ahead and look for, let's just say, maybe a star. Okay, maybe this one. So I'm gonna draw a star here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and change or format or shape format. I'll take the outline, and then let's just say this one will be red. Okay, so let's move that right here. Okay, so there we go. I have an icon for lesson outcomes, right? For example, I'd like to add another shape or icon for time. I'm not really sure, but let's try. Um, what's the best icon for time? Maybe this one. This one is a flowchart collate. Let's try this. Okay. And then remove the outline again and change it to red. So I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. Okay, there we go. Right. So I have now the lesson outcomes number 1, and then you have the time, right? So from here, you can start by having your, let's just say, introduction. Introduction, right? Introduction. Introduction. So if you would like to make it, little bit nice, just in case, if you'd like to, since in every part of the lesson there are another subheading, right? So I'm gonna set this to heading number 3. So I'll look for heading number 3 here. So let me try to modify that. So this will become Times New Roman. Um, that's font number 12. That should be bolded, and the color should be black. But how about if I'd like to have it all caps, right? Like every time I click on heading number 3 or heading 3, it will transform the text no matter on which case that is. It will transform to all uppercase. So you see there is this button right here that says format, right? You click on that, and then you look for anything that says font. Okay, font. You click on font, this will pop out. So from here, you need to find anything that says all caps, which is here. Click all caps, and it becomes this one. Click OK, and this will happen. Click introduction, and then look for heading number 3. There we go. Okay. And also, by the way, when you hit enter, okay, the succeeding line will go back to the normal text. Okay. Now I'd like to like add a very, maybe a very simple design on it. So I can insert a shape, a line particularly here. So from here to here. And then let's format the shape by clicking shape format again. Normally this thing pops out when you added a shape just recently, right? So I need to have it, thick. So I'll increase the weight of the line, put it on, let's just say 1 1/2. And then the color will be, let's just say black. Maybe black would do. And then I can move this to the right. There we go. Right, so I can have it, hold up, I can move it. Okay, there we go. So um, You can now start adding introduction by I would I would like to add an introduction here. Something like that, right? And this goes all the way through, every part of your subheading. So whenever you add something here, you can just simply, copy this one, copy, and then paste. Let's just say this one will become what? This will become activity. Let's just say, okay? So activity. So I can, copy the heading 3 also as the shape, the line, change it to activity. There it goes. I have now an activity here. So you can start by maybe answer the following. Okay, maybe something like that, right? So I guess you already got, an idea on how we could craft a very good instructional material. Well, again, when it comes to the design, it will always depend on you because you are the author of your own instructional material. You are the designer, right? Okay, so I can say which design fits for you or fits for your learners, but just make sure a suggestion, make it very simple and then less colors. Okay, the lesser for the colors, the better, right? Mm, okay, so I guess that's it. So when you try to go back on table of contents, and then again, let's try to update the table of contents. Click update, and then update entire table. You would see that introduction is under lesson number 1, which is under module number 1. Hold on, what happened to introduction? Okay, this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and change this just a moment. Introduction. Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and update this again. In table. There we go. Introduction and activity, right? And what we need to do next is if you want, we can add the page numbers, right? So for you to add the page numbers, so you go ahead, click on the insert, and then you look for anything that says header and footer for the category, and then you look for anything that says page number. Click on page number will give you a lot of options where you put the page number. It could be at the bottom of the page, top of the page, but normally we use bottom of the page, right? And then let's go ahead and select maybe this one, bold numbers 3. Okay, there we go. So page 5 of 5, and I can see it from here. So this is basically page 5 of 5, which reflects in the table of contents, right? Page 5 of 5. Um, you can also add a design in your footer. Okay, for you to do that, okay, you go ahead and double click this part right here. So you could pull up footer. Okay, double click. And then let's just say we want to add a design. Let's just say another shape, right? Maybe rectangle still. And then let's draw a rectangle here. I'd like to take out the outline, put the color. Well, what's with the yellow though? No? Okay, I'm not really a big fan of yellow. I'm just using the color. Okay, so try to exit on the footer, and the design will be applied to every part of or every page of your module, right? So you can find here. So you have the footer, right? Um, Another one, if you'd like to add, let's just say the name of the subject, right? So you can add it on or right together with the page number. So I'd like to have the title of this module, Introduction to Computing. And then I can also change the font style or the font size the way I want it, right? So I'm gonna change this one to, let's say, Arial. And then I'm gonna change the color to, let's just say, gray, like that. There we go. So you have the title of the book, the page number, and then a footer design, right? So there we go. So that's pretty much it in creating an instructional design using Microsoft Word. Again, we all have different styles in creating design, different um, color, um, different techniques in combining shapes and colors together, right? It will actually depend on you. But what I would like you to, learn is that to make use of the heading to automatically, um, format every part of the page, and also as well for you to create a comprehensive and then a reference-based table of contents. Okay. Um, Also, there's one little trick I'd like to teach you. For example, if you are to create or to add an image, right? And then it will give you a hard time. There's actually, a lot of ways to add an image, but if you want to add an image, right fit to the file that won't destroy the whole file, I suggest you put the image inside a table. Okay, I'm gonna show you how. So you need to go on the Insert tab. You look for the tables. You insert just one by one table. Okay, or it depends on you, right? But normally, if you insert like a figure, you just add one by one table. And then from here, you can insert a photo, an image. So let's try to insert an image. So let's maybe use this, okay? And then now, if you notice, as by default, the image is scaled on the left, you can go to home and have it centered here. Okay, hit center and it will, scale to the center of the document. Okay, so you can add the label of the figure by saying figure one, and then let's just say this one is Google versus Office, for example. Okay, so you can format this option right here. Okay, and then if you happen to notice the border is pretty much um, visible to the eyes, you can remove that by clicking the table. You see this button right here, it's like a cross arrows. You click on that and then you look for home and then paragraph, and then under the borders you drop that down and then you click on no borders. So it is, you know, an invisible table border, right? It's like there is a table but no borders. But if you try to click on that, this image is inside the table. What's a good thing about, putting an image inside a table is that you can control it easily. Okay, there is no need for you to wrap the image. Yep. So that's it. So, I guess you can have all of these things we talk about Microsoft Word applied in creating an instructional material. Okay. Um, there are actually a lot of ways in how you can do one single thing, but I hope you will make use of the references, table of contents, the headings, and then modifying the headings, the tables, and then making cover photo. Okay, so that's it, and I'd like you to, I'd like to thank you guys in watching this, tutorial over. Okay, so um, later we are going to talk about Microsoft presentation, Microsoft PowerPoint, and how to effectively present a Microsoft presentation, okay? PowerPoint presentation. And also at the same time later, we are going to have an application for all of these things. So stay tuned and I'll see you later. Thank you so much.